What do you do? Are you studying? Working?
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm studying psychology at UFO.
At UFO?
Mm-hmm.
You know who this is?
No, I don't think you know before. Hi.
Introduce
I'm
yourself.
a retired professor who still comes in to the university, Mary Rothbard,
Great.
also known as Maya Scully.
Oh, awesome.
Oh.
Pleased to meet you. Yes, you can stop by and see me sometime.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
great.
in on the Franklin Street
Okay.
building.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm there sometimes.
And Elise is also studying to be a yoga teacher.
I thought so.
Yes.
Yeah, the way you're sitting, I could tell.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm used to this now.
Good. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayiniim Ambatpamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshiniim. Last one. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapada-kramopanishadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita tadgatena manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantanna vidusura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Now we will together chant up till which verse are we on now? No, yeah, Tatha Shankascha, yeah, Ananta Vijayam Raja, Karshascha Parameshwasah. Yes.
Verse 20.
First 20 verses, we will chant together. I'm going to have a middle pace. So that we do, it's not 5 o'clock by the time we finish chanting the 20 verses, okay? Om Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakav Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyamupasanghamya Raja Vachanamabravit Pashyaitan Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupada Patrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata Atra Shura Maheshwasaha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharatha Dhrishtaketuschekitanaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Bhojascha Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्तः उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः अस्माकं तु विशिष्टा ये तान् निबोधद्विजोत्तम नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिर्जयैव च अन्ये च बहवः शूराः मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि तस्य सञ्जयनं हर्षं कुरु वृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनोद्योच्चैः शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान् ततः शङ्खश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तु मुलोऽभवत् ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतुः पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशः धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मावृकोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ काश्यश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः धृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकी चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक् सघोषोधार्तराष्ट्राणां हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवी चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन् अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते. So then, this is what happened. The battle cry has been sounded. Everyone is beating their drums and beating their chest and getting ready for Shastra Sampatah. Means the falling of the arrows has to take place. Just everybody is, in the cheerleading mode. They are all rallying the cry for their own banners and their own divisions and whatever it needs to, whatever one needs to do to begin killing people. This is what. It's not easy. And so they are, getting everything going. And then Arjuna, who was already really majorly offended by the Kauravas, when all these years he had been waiting to get back at them. Because dishonor upon dishonor, taking away the kingdom, many death attempts, and his brother had been poisoned. Bhima was poisoned by Duryodhana. Yeah. And of course they knew what had happened and were quickly able to give an antidote. Here, how about some orange juice? And then the fellow is writhing in pain. So Duryodhana was not an ordinary villain. he would be the present day terrorist. The definition for terrorist is atatayin. Yeah, means who is in a lot of trouble. That's why it ends in. Atatayin means the one who has done, these kinds of things. And there are 6 things that are talked about. Poisoning people, he had done that. Check. And burning. Did he do burning or
Yes,
not?
he did.
Yes, because he invited them all to a house of wax and then lured them in and set fire. So arson he had done, poison he had done, and then he had tried to kill many people with stabbing he had done, check. And then also looking at someone else's wife with lust, yes, check. So like this. There are 6 or 7. Oh, stealing. He definitely had done. He has stolen the whole kingdom. We are not talking of shoplifting from one small, neighborhood 7-Eleven. We are talking of big time, he had stolen the whole kingdom. And then lied, deceit, fraud, all these things. Check, check, check. So this is, and then always plotting, masterminding big attacks and masterminding mass deaths. That also he had done, And so he was a terrorist. He was just a terrorist of those times, yeah. If he had been here now, and he would have definitely been, if he was embodied at this time, in a human body, he would have definitely been behind 911. Maybe he was, we don't know, the same Jiva, who knows. So this is that kind of a fellow. And so Arjuna is really upset with him. Because it's not just him and his family that are unhappy because of this. This is no longer personal. The whole kingdom, the people are not ready to come out. Because there is so much, when there is a rise of oppression and there is a rise of, this is a natural law, when there is a rise of anything intolerable, then there is some change that happens, When people start to take things for granted, whether you're talking of, whether you're talking of the administration, whether you're talking of one's own ability to get away with injustice, whatever you're taking for granted, there is a critical mass. There's only so much that it will tolerate. The natural equilibrium kind of goes into reboot mode. And that's what happened here in 2008, with this resounding victory of, the president here in this country. We saw that. And that's what has happened in India. That's the main thing, is that the people are, it's very, very clear that when change is ready to happen, it resets the whole thing. And so this was a very interesting time, Arjuna's time, because there was so much. Duryodhana was not just troubling these 5 people and their families, these 5 brothers. Not that that's excusable, but at least that would have been, compared to all the things that he has racked up in his account, if he had just been troubling 5 brothers, that would have been just a piece of cake. That would have been nothing. But Chitragupta, the divine accountant, when he looks at Duryodhana's file, suddenly feels feverish and needs to lie down because there are so many bad karmas there. He suddenly feels sick and he feels like, I don't want to look at any other account. It's that huge, it's mega. And so Duryodhana is upset because the praja, what is praja? The people. The people are extremely, oppressed. And Arjuna is a born leader, he is a prince, and especially living with the commoners for 12 years, living in the forest, living in various people's houses, living incognito in another area of the kingdom. He has come to know what all these people are doing and how they are just robbing the country, the kingdom dry and robbing it of all its wealth. He has come to know, and he is just chafing at the bit to get to this war. He sees it as a war of justice, and he sees it as his duty, because he is the commander, he is the head person, he is a leader, he is a kind of a general in the war, And so it's his duty to teach these people a lesson. It's a war of dharma. We are after all on the right side. We are fighting for our kingdom, and in so doing, in releasing the kingdom from these oppressive fellows, what are we going to accomplish? We are going to set the people also free. This is his thinking. And so much he is rallied by the cry of the conch shells, and what else was there? The drums and the tambourines and the bagpipes, bugles, cow horns, bells. Rallied by that cry, he forgets who Krishna is. And he gives him an order. And this is actually the first time he speaks. Arjuna uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Senayorubhayor madhye
Senayorubhayor madhye
Rathan sthapaya mechyuta
Ratham sthapaya mechyuta
Yavadetan niriksheham
Yavadetan niriksheham
Yodhukamanavasthitan
Yodhukamanavasthitam
Kairmaya sahayodhavyam
Kairmaya sahayodhavyam
Asmin ranasamudyame
Asmin ranasamudyame
Yotsyamananaveksheham
Yotsyamanaanaveksheham
Ya etetra samagataha Ya etetra samagataha Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhehe Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhehe Yuddhe priyachikirshavah
Yuddhe priyachikirshavah.
Yeah. He says, hey Achyuta. Achyuta means the indeclinable one. Who is the indeclinable? Krishna. Hey, that's another name for him. Because that which never declines, the truth of oneself, here embodied in the personage of Lord Krishna. Oh Krishna, what? He calls him as though one would call the chauffeur, because after all he was the chauffeur. James, home, give the order to the chauffeur, because after all he is in your pay. This James, whoever this James is, James becomes a common name for someone who is driving you around, and then you say, let's go here. Why? Because you have this feeling, I have hired this person to drive me, and I am owning them from this time to this time. A very troublesome feature, a very troublesome feeling, but that's generally how it is. That's how you just bark the order. You don't say, do you mind if, or especially an employee, when the boss is talking to the employee, you don't say, well, if you have time, and if you don't mind, and if it's all right with you, and if it's not too much trouble, can you please take me here, or can you please make a cup of tea? Nobody says like that. Hey you, take me here. And this is how Arjuna also, even though Krishna is not in Arjuna's pay, he is only performing a role. And remember how much he begged earlier, you please be with me. And if Krishna had a human mind, he would be chafing at the bit right now. But Krishna is very good tempered and also does a little trick, as we will see. So what does he say? Senayoho ubhayoho. In between the two. What? Armies. Ubhayoho, two. Senayoho, armies. Senayoho ubhayoho madhye, in between. Ratham sthapaya me. My ratha, my chariot, sthapaya. Put it there. Put my chariot. Take me, take my chariot to the place, to a vantage point where I can say, see both the armies. In between the two armies, please place my, place my chariot. Place my chariot, O Krishna, O Achyuta. Ratham sthapaya. Sthapaya, place. It's an order. Even in the grammatical thing, the mood is imperative mood. There is no please there. Lot. Imperative mood. It's a command. Ratham sthapaya me achyuta. And then of course he gives him a reason. Why should I stand in between the two armies? Yavat, from which point, etan, these two, these people, nirikshe, I can inspect, so that I may inspect. Who may inspect? Aham, I may inspect. And what am I going to inspect? Yodhu kaman avasthitan. Avasthitan, the ones that are present. Who are these present people? Yodhu kaman, those wanting to fight. Yodhu kamaha means the people who have assembled here and who are desirous of waging this war. Let me look at them. It's not that I want to look at them nice and make eye contact and wave. No. Let me look at them with disdain and a feeling of superiority. Oh, you dare to fight with me? You were just picked off the street. You don't even know how to spell Kurukshetra. What are you going to fight? You don't know anything. So I may frighten them with just a look. This is the machoism of the war, This macho feeling of, I'm just going to look at them and I'm going to frighten them with my look, And then he beats his chest and he says, Kaihi maya saha yodhavyam. Who on earth is it? Kaihi means who? Maya saha. Who? With me. Yodhavyam. With me is ready to fight. Asmin rana samudyame, in this bloodbath war. Who dares to fight with me? This is what he says. Senayoho ubhayoho madhye, in between the two armies, O Krishna, place my chariot so that I can see once and for all who are these people who are desirous of fighting. Do they even know how to spell Kurukshetra? Do they know where they are? Do they know why they are here? And let me look at each and every one of them and scare them out of their wits. This is the unsaid part. That's not in the translation. It's implied. And let me also see who are these people who dare to fight with a warrior like myself. He's boosting his own ego, And then he says, further, Yotsyamanan aveksheham. All the people, etan atra samagataha, all these people, Yotsyamanan means the ones who have the intention of going through with this war and who have assembled here. Let me see them. Let me see all of them and their strength of their armies. And then, and why are they assembled here? Because they are the army that I'm looking at. Because he's not looking at his own army. Who is he looking at? The other side. At least in the beginning, he's going to look at the other side. That's the whole point. You go to the other side and make faces and scare them and then hope that they will go away. So he says, who are these people who are fighting? They are all people pleasers. Priya chikirshavah. Chikirshavah kartum ichhu chikirshu. Chikirshavah plural. Like guravaha. Chikirshavah. Priya chikirshavah means people pleasers. And actually one person pleaser. Who are they pleasing? The durbuddhi of Duryodhana. Not just Duryodhana. Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhehe. So, the Dhartarashtra means the son of Duryodhana. The son of whatever his name was, Dhritarashtra. Yeah, son of Dhritarashtra is Dhartarashtra, and they are pleasing his wrong buddhi, durbuddhi, his bad intellect. And so all these people are the fodder, not just of war, but they have come under the spell of his bad intelligence, his bad intellect, his wrong ideas, and his idiotic ways. And that's why they have signed up for the war. Or perhaps they were threatened, and that's why they are people pleasers. They are just trying to, they are just lads of yesterday dragged to the war, and because they are threatened, they are trying to please him and follow his wrong intentions. So you see, this is a very famous 2-3 verses, because here, why is this important? Because later on, right now nobody will identify with Arjuna. He just seems like a storybook warrior, like beating the drums, beating the chest, and then giving commands, go in the middle of the battlefield, put me here so I can see, and I can pull my tongue out at the other side, and I can teach them a lesson, and I'll see who dares fight with me. This is all just machismo, nobody identifies with Arjuna here. But a few sentences later, everybody will say, oh, it's so understandable. Of course, he is feeling sad. Oh, killing is a bad thing. Especially in Eugene, everybody will start crying at the latter half of the thing. And then they'll start getting mad at Krishna. This is a typical reaction to the Gita, a typical response. Oh, poor Arjuna. And look, this idiotic Krishna is making him fight. Nobody is making anyone do anything, okay? Yeah, listen to him here, and don't forget this part that we are just studying. I will not let you forget it, because when we go to the other part, I am going to tell you, look at his demeanor now. This is his real demeanor vis-a-vis the battle. He is not a pacifist. If he was a pacifist, he should have, he should have not come back from the forest. He should have fallen in love. 12 years he was sitting there, and he should have fallen in love with the cheep cheep and the chirp chirp every morning he heard, and joined the Sierra Club, and then saved some spotted owls and whatever else they do. That's all. He should have become a pacifist. He had plenty of time. He had plenty of time. Or he could have said that I'm interested in this knowledge, or I'm going to do some yoga, and I'm going to take a teacher's training course. I'm going to do this. I'm going to just, sit here and meditate. He could have done all that. Nothing. The whole time he was in the forest, when am I getting back? When am I getting back? When am I avenging? All he had to do was look at Draupadi's face, because she was not speaking with him. Yeah, she would make faces at him whenever he looked at her. She was majorly wronged, and she was majorly upset with all 5 of them. She gave them the silent treatment for a long time. And so naturally, who wants to live like that? And everybody was subdued. At least Bhima made a few jokes, but even he lost his appetite, and he also was just very subdued. Nobody was laughing, nobody was talking. It was not like a family. And Kunti had gone into meditation and was doing all kinds of prayers. And he, the whole time Arjuna was, are we there yet? When are we going back? And every tree, we joke, whenever we see the mark on the tree, it's Arjuna marking the days when he can get back to civilization. This is how impatient he was. He was not a pacifist. Don't think that. And a pacifist will not order around Krishna like this and say, oh, I am this. He would say, well, doesn't matter when we fight, doesn't matter where we go. I'm here not out of my own doing. I'm here just to support my brothers. Actually, why don't you sit in the back? I will drive the chariot. A pacifist would do all kinds of things. First of all, he wouldn't get into this situation. He was not forced. He returned out of his free will, and he fought valiantly the war on behalf of the kingdom of Virat, in that Virat kingdom where they were hiding incognito. This same Duryodhana, at that time they didn't know it was Duryodhana, he stole a few cows. Yeah. Why?
To get them out of...
to see if they were hiding there or not. He had a doubt. Yeah. I think Bhima must have gone out for a haircut or something. So Bhima cannot be hidden. Even though he was told to stay in the basement, in the kitchen of the palace and cook, he must have snuck out for a chocolate, ice cream or haircut. And maybe he was, he was spotted. Or maybe everybody said, what a good dance teacher Arjuna was. A new dance teacher has come. So Duryodhana got suspicious. And he wanted to smoke them out of hiding a day early. But he didn't know that the lunar calendar had skipped a day, and in fact it was the correct day. That's why we love the lunar calendar. Anything goes. Just fantastic. Same celebration can continue for a week, because by some calendar it's still on. And so then that time, even though he knew Duryodhana, later on he knew it was Duryodhana who had engineered this cow theft. But he fought all the people that came. He didn't say, oh, I have turned over a new leaf. I'm giving talks on nuclear disarmament. The next talk is tonight at 7 o'clock, followed by, some hors d'oeuvres. Please come. He didn't say that. He fought valiantly. And even in the war, even in the forest, he fought to, restore the rights of the sages to do their fire rituals. Because wherever there are fire rituals, there are unscrupulous elements wanting to put a shoe in it or put something in it so that they make it, what is that? They make it profane. It's no longer sacred. So when you're having a fire ritual, certain things should not fall in it. You should be in charge of what is being put. So what these people would do is climb on the tree where the fire sacrifice is this thing, and purposely put footwear, shoes and other things which would, then they have to start again. They have to make the bricks and start again. And in a way it's very interesting, because not only were they not doing the fire ritual, they still believed in the efficacy of it. Otherwise, why would they go so far as to stop it? They believed in the efficacy of it. So all this time Arjuna was keeping the powder dry. He was chanting the mantras, because those were all mantra powered missiles. He was chanting the mantras with the arrows meant for Duryodhana, Dushasana, all these people. And he went to Shiva's kingdom. This is all these stories, very nice stories. And then Shiva and Parvati were there, and he had been promised a Pashupatastra, an arrow that had the power of all the animals and the birds in the whole world. So it was a very powerful arrow, powerful weapon. So he went to receive that. But of course, whenever you go to these kinds of interactions, the ego has to go first, correct? So he meets this tribal couple. They look, they are wearing skins of leopards, and they are wearing skins of tigers and lions, one woman and one man. And and they are just standing there. Wherever he goes, they are there, right there. And he says to them, they are Shiva and Parvati in disguise, the story goes. They have come, of course, to test him and put his ego down a little bit. And so, he goes, and then he says, I have come to see Shiva. And, and the tribal man says, the tribal chieftain says, Shiva doesn't see the likes of you people. Who are you? You don't know who I am? I am the prince of the Pandavas. I am this, I am that. He says, I am Arjuna, my name is this, my name is that, and I am ambidextrous, and I have a PhD in archery, and I can sing, I have a Master of Fine Arts degree, and I have done this and that. And then the tribal lady says, you have to live by the forest rules. We don't recognize any of your degrees. You are a common person, and you have to follow our rules if you want to entry into this country. And so he's really upset. But then some daivam, this is what daivam is. Something comes and he humbles himself, gets down a notch or two, and then finally they say that we were testing you, because to handle this weapon you should not have any ego. So we had to take care of that. And so saying, they give him the ego, the weapon, they take his ego and give him the weapon. And then, so they had a lot of adventures. 13 years is a long time. 12 years in the forest, 1 year incognito. At no time the word peace came out of his mouth. Not once. And even here, we see him charging ahead with great aplomb and with a fierce drive to see how dare anyone. I am the unsurpassed warrior. How dare all these lowly mortals come and fight with me, instigated by that bad buddhi fellow, who? Duryodhana. And so this is his mood. And if you forget it, I will remind you. So further, Sanjaya starts to narrate again. Sanjaya uvacha
Sanjaya uvacha
Evam ukto Hrishikeshah
एवमुक्तो ऋषिकेशः
गुडाकेशेन भारत
गुडाकेशेन भारत
सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये
सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये
स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम्
स्थापयित्वा
स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम्
स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम्
भीष्मद्रोणप्रमुखतः
भीष्मद्रोणप्रमुखतः
सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम्
सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम्
उवाच पार्थ पश्यैतान्
उवाच पार्थ पश्यैताम्
समवेतान् कुरूनिति
समवेतान् कुरूनिति.
Yeah. Now Sanjaya is picking up the story. Who is Sanjaya? Huh? The narrator. Yeah, the narrator, the reporter is picking up the story. And he says, Tatra, now what happened? Eva Muktaha means having been addressed so, thus. Thus means what? So unceremoniously. Rishikeshaha. Rishikeshaha means it's a name for Lord Krishna. In fact, a town in India is named after that. Which one is that? Rishikesha. It's not Rishi, it's the ha is there. It's not silent. Rishikesha. Like sometimes the ha is silent as in honest. Nobody says honest, correct? Yeah. But you have to say Rishikesha. Yeah. Yeah. And people think, see, Rishikesh in India is a town where half the people dress in orange. You know, it's a town of renunciants. So Rishi means sage. You know, this is the simplistic thinking. And Keshaha means what? Hair. So they think this is all the matted hairs of the rishis, that the town is named after that. Wrong. You know? Yeah. Rishikayam, Rishikanam, Ishaha. Rishika means the sense group of sense organs is called Rishika. Yeah. Rishika means group of sense organs. Rishikanam Ishaha. The Lord of the sense organs. The one who has mastery over their sense organs. Otherwise, if without mastery, what do the sense organs do? They don't listen. They go here, they go there, they want to graze here, they want to graze there. In the pasture of sense objects, they want to be left free to graze. That is not a Hrishikeshaha. The Hrishikeshaha, one who has mastery over the sense organs. You can take it that way. The one who is the master of sense organs, and also the one because of whose presence the sense organs function. So when you say the eyes see, then the dead people's eyes also should see. How come no, because of prana. Yes, the prana can be there, but the eyes, how do they see? Prana doesn't make the eyes see. Prana itself goes and comes. What is it that makes the eyes see? What is that presence backed by which the eyes are enabled to be the bearers of sight? What is that intelligence backed by which the ears function to hear even these words? What is that by which the tongue is empowered to taste? What is that power by which the touch and smell function? This is how the Kenopanishad begins. Kena ishitam, same Isha. Kena ishitam, preshitam patati manaha. How? Powered by whom? Powered by what agent does the mind fall into various thoughts and thought patterns? What is that presence? What is that Bhagavan? That is Bhagavan, that is Ishvara. That Ishvara who is behind all the sense organs, that is also a good way to look at it, but also the one who is the master of sense organs, because Bhagavan is not tempted by anything. And the one who has full vairagya, Rishikesha. So that is the name for Krishna. So Eva Muktaha, even though he was ordered like a servant, what did he do? Rishikesha. And who was he ordered by? Another Kesha, Gudakesha. What is this Gudakesha? Name for Arjuna. Gudaka means sleep. Arjuna was a master of sleep. Not that he knew how to sleep all the time. No. He could go without sleeping. He could sleep at will and get up at will. He didn't need mattress and pillow, lullaby and pacifier and blankie. He could sleep without any of those items. He was very good at taking power naps, and he could rejuvenate himself, and he could go for long hours without sleep. So, but the Vyasa, for the sake of this nice alliteration, Rishikesha, Gudakesha, because both of them were masters in a certain way. This one had mastery over sleep, that one was mastery over sense organs. That's why perhaps he didn't turn around and biff him and said, "This is the way to address me." He just was very quiet. He didn't get offended. So Eva Muktaha, who Rishikesha, who was Eva Muktaha, thus addressed by Arjuna. So what happened? Gudakeshena, who is, and what happened? Senayoho ubhayoho madhye sthapayitva rathottamam. So Bharata means Dhritarashtra is being addressed. So thus commanded, Krishna, place the big chariot in the middle of both the armies. Rathottamam means huge chariot in the middle of both the armies. But also, from a vantage point, what did he do? Krishna took it right next to where the elders were standing. Who? Bhishma, Drona, Pramukhataha. Pramukhataha means all the important people. Yeah. All the important people where they were standing, he took them right in front of Bhishma, Drona and the rest of the important people. And then Uvacha Partha. Krishna speaks here for the first time in the Bhagavad Gita, even though it doesn't say Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. He speaks in indirect voice through the voice of Sanjaya. Uvacha Partha. Partha, Uvacha means spoke. Partha, son of Pritha, O Arjuna. And Krishna speaks, O Arjuna, Pashya etan, please see. What is there to see? Samavetan kurun pashya iti uvacha. Samavetan kurun, all the assembled kurus. And here by kurus he is meaning both the sides. When you say Pandavas, you only mean these 5 Pandavas. But when you say Kuru, it's the whole entire clan. And it's a civil war. It's in between the clan. It's an inter-clan war. He says, please see. I have done exactly. I, sir, Krishna says, takes it to the place where Drona, Bhishma and all the important people are standing. The chieftains are standing. And then says, please, see to your heart's content who you are going to fight against. And now first the battle cry started. Now Arjuna's cry is going to start. Let us read. Tatra pashyat sthitan parthaha.
Tatra pashyat sthitan parthaha.
Pitrunatha pitamahan.
Pitrunatha pitamahan.
Pitrunatha pitamahan.
Pitrunatha pitamahan.
Acharyan matulan bhratrun.
Acharyan matulan bhratrun.
Putran pautran sakhims-tatha.
Putran pautran sakhims-tatha.
Shvasuran suhridaishchaiva.
Swasuran
Suhridaishchaiva. Senayorubhayorapi.
Senayorubhayorapi.
Tan samikshya sa Kaunteya.
Tan samikshya
Tan samikshya sa Kaunteya.
Tan samikshya sa Kaunteya.
तान् समीक्ष्य
तान् समीक्ष्य
स कौन्तेय
स कौन्तेय
तान् समीक्ष्य स कौन्तेय
तान् समीक्ष्य स कौन्तेय
सर्वान् बन्धूनवस्थितान्
सर्वान् बन्धूनवस्थितान्
कृपया परयाविष्टः
कृपया परयाविष्टः
विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्.
विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्.
Yeah. So tan sami tatra means there. Apashyat, there he saw. What did he who saw? Parthaha apashyat. Parthaha, Arjuna saw. What did he see? Sthitan, assembled or standing. Who did he see standing? Pitrun means all the father's side people, all the elders in the father's side. Atha, even as he was seeing them, then he saw Pitamahan, granddaddies, starting with Bhishma, all the grand uncles, grandfathers. And then what? Acharyan, people who he had studied under, teachers. Matulan, maternal uncles. And then, Matulan, Bhratrun, brothers. Putran, sons. And then Pautran, grandchildren, grandsons. Sakhim. Sakhi means friends and relatives, other, relatives. Then Shwashuran. Shwashuran means in-laws from the other side. And then Suhradash Chaiva, not related but friends, allies. And where did he see them? Not just on the other side, on his side too. So much so that he looked here and he looked there and he could not distinguish where the two sides split. On where he saw Drona, Bhishma standing, these are all his elders. He loved Bhishma. Bhishma had a very special place for Arjuna. They shared a wonderful relationship. And he always, whenever he was in doubt, he would go to Bhishma. And here he saw Bhishma on the other side. And then he saw Drona, who he had saluted every day and learnt archery from, age 5. Before he could speak, he was introduced to Drona. And all the other grand uncles, great uncles, extended family members in whose lap he had played as a child and who he respects tremendously. And then he saw uncles, maternal and paternal, people from the father's side, people from the mother's side, and then old and young. And then he saw cousins, he saw other relatives, distant relatives, and then he saw what? The in-laws. And he saw in-laws behaving like outlaws. And then he saw people who were connected through friendship and allies, and people who were there just to support him. They had nothing to do with the war, but they had enlisted to be on his side to support. And then this was interesting because in the rules of the warfare in ancient India, they had to first assemble and read out the rules of the war. Like if a woman comes, everyone should stop fighting. And if two people are locked in a duel, nobody should disturb them and nobody should gang up on them. And then from dawn to dusk, and then nobody will go and eat in each other's tent, to socialize, okay, but they're not going to go with arms and kill people while sleeping, all these things. Of course, the Kauravas flouted all this, but the rules were there. And so like this, they had all these rules of engagement for the war. And one of the rules had to do with if somebody was not happy being on that side or this side, they could change. Before the war was declared. While all these rules were being read out. So they had to call out 3 times and say, is there anybody who wants to change? Or is there anybody, for any reason, does not want to fight and just go home right now? So you see one more opportunity for Arjuna to have gone home. He didn't. You know? And then when this declaration was made, the youngest son of Dhritarashtra by the name of Yuyutsu, who was, I think, born of a servant maid, an illegitimate son, not from the royal thing, but he was also on the side of the Kauravas, naturally. He walked over and joined Arjuna's side. Yeah. He said, I may have lowly birth, I may not qualify to be a royal person or whatever it is, but I do know right from wrong. And I'm not going to, I had just signed up out of obligation, I had no choice. But now that the elders are reading out that I can come on this side, I defect. So he defected, you see. So Arjuna saw all that. Arjuna saw all the young people who had played in his lap. There were only two categories of people, not this army and that army. Either people who had played in his lap or people in whose lap he had played. That's all it was. And he was extremely confused. So much so that the more he looked, he did not know which was his side and which was his people and which was the other. Because it was not another. It was all his people. This was the problem. Everything was his. And this is the problem, because first he started with me and I. Senayoho ubhayoho madhye ratham me sthapaya, my chariot. Krishna is driving it, but what did he say? My chariot. And then he said, aham nirikshye, I will see who is coming, who is going, who are all these people. I want to look at them. Correct? So, this I has now become, a we, a kind of an en masse we, because he finds this I connected to each and every person in the battlefield. There is no stranger to him anymore. And he is extremely confused which side, who is supposed to fight from. And especially when Yuyutsu walks over to this side, he is even more confused. Like, now who am I fighting against? Because those people that I thought I'm fighting against are really my people. They are not separate from me. And these are respectable people. These are people, who are my elders, who are my teachers, who are my advisors, who are my uncles, grandfathers. And how can I just let go of that? And so that is what he sees. He sees a battlefield. Instead of a battlefield, he sees a sea of relatives. He sees an entire sea of relatives. And then what does he see? Tan samikshya sarvan bandhun avasthitan. All these assembled relatives, seeing them clearly, what happens to him? He is overpowered by sorrow, rising out of a sense of compassion. This compassion everyone has. Even a boxer in the wrestling ring, fellow punches him on the other one on the nose, draws blood, and the other one is just shielding the nose because suddenly all the blood is coming. And seeing that blood, I'm sure this fellow feels, no matter how pugnacious he is, he will have a feeling, this is not the right time. I don't think we should do this to him. What is this? You'll feel that. And even in any Wimbledon match, this person is, bashing up the opponent and perhaps goes through the feeling, I don't think this is such a good idea, that person is really wanting to win. No, what am I doing? I need to win. This is the time to really, when they are running, back and forth and feeling tired, that is the time to hit this, hit this ball so that they are not able to run again. This is what the whole thing is. So that compassion is there. In every marathon, in every race, you look at the opponent and you say, "Ayyo, poor thing." But then you say, I have to be strong because I have to win this competition. You don't get overpowered by that. This is human empathy. This is natural. And in fact, if you don't have it, it's a disease. Correct? Now that's what is called, what is that called? Sociopath, yeah. So sociopath means there is no empathy. That's a pathology. That's why it's called path. It's a pathology means it's not a good thing. It's an aberration from the norm. So this kind of an empathy or a compassion is there, And you can feel compassionate about your opponents, no problem, but here he is so overpowered, abducted by paraya vishta, abducted by compassion. He cannot see any further. First he sees a sea of relatives, and then he sees a sea of tears coming out of his own eyes, and he is not able to go any further at all. And he is very upset because he is not able to, he is overpowered by this compassion. He is not able to do this. And then he starts his sorrowful rant from verse number 28. Let us read. Arjuna uvacha
Arjuna uvacha
Drishtvevam svajanam Krishna
Drishtvevam svajanam Krishna
Yuyutsum samupasthitam
Yuyutsam samupastitam
Sidanti mama gatrani
Sidanti mama gatrani
Mukhancha parishishyati
Mukham cha parishishyati
Vepathuscha sharire me
Vepaduscha sharire me
Romaharshascha jayate.
Romaharshascha jayate.
Yeah. So not only does he begin his sorrowful rant, he has a full-blown panic attack right about here. Yeah. And this is the first case of anxiety attack recorded in history. And what is it brought on? Drashtva evam. In this manner, having seen. Drashtva. What? Swajanam. My own people. Ready to fight one another. Ready to draw blood. Hey Krishna. Drashtva evam swajanam. My own people. The problem is not with the war. The problem is what? My own people. Or I have to kill. If it had been strangers, I would have had no problem, Krishna. But it is my own people, please understand. You see, he's not against the war. He's against killing. He's against the rhetoric of killing his own people. So, yuyutsum, ready to fight, samupasthitam, right there. They have come with such eagerness, as though candy was being distributed. They have all, assembled here. But it's really, they are eager to lose their life or what? What has brought them here? Don't they see how bad this war is? And what happens as a result? Looking at all this, I'm starting to feel sick, he says. How is he starting to feel sick? Sidanti mama gatrani. My limbs are, trembling. Gatra is actually body, but gatrani, since the plural is left, it's the limbs. Various limbs are trembling. Yeah. And then, sidanti means they are seizing up. Seizanti. They are seizing up, they are trembling, and they are. I don't feel like I can rely on my hands to do anything. The hands are losing their strength. They are seizing up. Sidanti mama gatrani. And I feel dehydrated all of a sudden. Mukham cha parishishyati. My mouth is all as it were dry. And then what? Vepatuscha sharire me. My whole body, vepanam is kampanam. Vepathuhu means kampate. My whole body is trembling, is quivering, and then what? Romaharshascha jayate means I am, Romaharshascha jayate means my hairs are standing on end. I'm getting the chills. I'm getting horripilations. See, these are all signs of the panic attack, aren't they? Yeah. So all these things are happening. He's in very, very bad shape. And he's describing every symptom to Dr. Krishna, who is the doctor of the samsara fever. This panic attack has no physical basis. Arjuna had a clean bill of health from before his last checkup. After his last checkup, there was nothing. He did all his tests, came out fine. He was ready to go to battle. He was young. He was, strong. There was no problem with him fighting. It's just like when there is a test at school, the first grader, what will it say? In the morning, I think I'm having a stomach ache. I'm not going to go. Because when you don't want to go, you don't, not that you don't love school. The first grader would be loving school, but thinks that if I don't go on that day, I'll miss the test, and this dread of it somehow will just pass. So this is the same thing that is happening to him. Very nice and interesting turn this whole chapter is going to take. We'll see it tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any questions? Right.
Could you talk about compassion in the wise person who, not necessarily in samsara, but gone beyond it?
The compassion is always there. The compassion is how we can help. And sometimes not really doing anything is a better help than doing something. So the compassion is just an outpouring of an attitude of oneness, which is benign, which is effortless, which is spontaneous, which is not driven out of a sense of helplessness on one's own part. Because usually the rescue which people want to do is to do with wanting to rescue some being within oneself. Yeah. And that is projected powerfully outside. Here that is not there. There is no rescue needed. You know that everybody is there and is Bhagavan. And so compassion sometimes is just letting it be. Sometimes you act, but sometimes you allow things to be. Yeah. So it's a spontaneous outpouring of that limitlessness. And it can take many forms. It's not formulaic. Yeah. Anything else? Okay.